Hey guys, this is gonna be a full guide when it comes to how to play Bloodtithe in the 3rd anniversary, our version 3.7. I start off in this screen right here today, this time to flex this beautiful Fatutu garment. I will start off in this case here for the Bloodtithe lineup to give a huge explanation first. If you think you know all about it, then you can skip this explanation. I will leave a link to the start of the battle in the description down below, and in the comment section it will be pinned. Now, what is the Bloodtithe archetype all about? Once we hop into battle with a Bloodtithe archetype character, we will gain access to a meter. This meter will have to be filled. We can fill this meter either by waiting until our opponents would deal damage to us. That is not what we want. That is why every single character from the Bloodtithe lineup, or from the Bloodtithe archetype I should say, has abilities and incantations that allows them to deal damage to themselves. You can see this here with our main DPS Nautika. Incantation number 2, we lose 20% of our current HP. Incantation number 1, we lose 20% of our current HP. We can move on to Semmelweis here. We lose 10% of our current HP. The ultimate that establishes an array, we lose, or the entire team here in that case loses 20% of their current HP. We have our sustain character with Rubuska here, her incantation. She loses 10% of her current HP. And this goes on and on and on. There are like pretty much everything that we do deducts our own HP. And by deducting our own HP, we fill this aforementioned Bloodtithe meter. Now, there are certain thresholds of HP that we have to reach. The best possible threshold that we want to reach, especially with our main DPS Nautika, but now with the addition of Rhiannon, we also want to reach this threshold for her as well. That threshold is 80 HP. We want to be at the maximum of 20% of our maximum HP with Rhiannon and with Nautika, because those are our main damage dealers here. This is especially true if you have portraits on Rhiannon, right? The more, the better, but you get the point. 20% HP is what you want to be at the moment you will deal damage, especially with Nautika when you use her ultimate. Now, why 20%? That is because first of all, our array. Here you can see that for every 10% of our missing max HP, our entire team, right? The character that has 10% lost HP, they gain a damage bonus by 5% and their healing taken by 4%. What matters here is the damage, is especially the damage bonus. You can see that this 5% can stack up to 40. Now if you do the math, then you will realize that at 20% max HP, you will have the maximum amount of 40% damage bonus increase reached. That also comes in very, very clutch, because Nautika has a Psycube that if you read it, you can see here that when the carrier attacks, if below 80% max HP and at no less than 50 points of max Bloodtithe, we increase our critical damage by a whooping 48%. Whenever we would use the ultimate with Nautika, we will attack our opponents 30 times. Every single one of our opponents gets attacked 30 times. There will be a lot of crits happening amongst those 30 hits, and every single one of those hits now profits from critical damage increase by 48% if at below 80% HP and at least 50 Bloodtithe points accumulated. So you want to reach these thresholds every time before you use the ultimate with Nautika. This is like, I would just make a wild claim here and guess that this is exactly why and how people play Bloodtithe wrong and leave a lot of damage potential from this team just in the garbage, and therefore they misjudge this team. But that is just a theory. Now, this looks a little bit dangerous, right? If we are with our main damage dealers, we will be at 20% or preferably with Nautika, you have to even below that a little bit of max HP. That makes us vulnerable to dying. We are always on the edge of dying, right? Technically, yeah, but actually no, because yeah, I won't tell you every single thing here, but we stack up a lot of damage taken reduction. You can see the new characters. Rhiannon's Psycho here, for example, gives her damage taken reduction. And the main kicker is that we work towards increasing our max HP with all of our characters as much as possible. We have multiple ways to do this. Here, let me take the brand new character Rhiannon as an example, and why she is so beautiful and what her synergy with the actual Bloodtithe lineup is. Yeah, her ultimate gives her entire team a buff. I will not even try to pronounce this ultimate's name, but let me just tell you that you can see here that we increase the maximum HP of all of our allies by a total or a maximum total of 1550. This is just one example. We have like multiple different ways. Like for example, all of our characters' resonances here, we see that we get a lot of maximum HP out of a lot of different sources and buffs here. So that, like, what that means is that the more max HP you have, the more HP you will have at this 20% max, 20% HP threshold that you have to reach. If you wouldn't focus your resources like the resonance and the psycube and everything, abilities, buffs, and all sorts of things onto HP, then you would actually be in risk of dying, right? Because your HP is low. But since we have so much max HP increases and damage taken reduction and all sorts of things, we don't truly have to worry about anything there. And that is how Bloodtithe works when I tell you the most important things just in an explanation. So now let's hop into battle and let me explain things further there and show you how to play the rotations out. Here we are, and yeah, we want to establish, of course, first of all the needed buffs for our team. That, of course, includes, we're gonna, of course, immediately use everything with Rhiannon, right? That will increase our maximum amount of HP, as I just explained to you, Rhiannon's ultimate and what it exactly does for our team. Now, we want to further buff our team with Incantation and Ultimate Might. That also goes to Rhiannon. We want to always keep the buff from Semmelweis active on Nautika for more beneficial effects. Everything stacked, everything goes into supporting Nautika and making her as strong as possible. That is what the whole team works towards. The first thing that you want to do is to activate Nautika's counter incantation. That is for multiple reasons. We gain a buff called Mother Spirit's Guidance, which is very, very important as well to gain the maximum amount of efficiency out of our ultimate. And Nautika's ultimate is Bloodtithe, basically speaking. So this turn 1 is all catered towards making sure that Nautika is as strong as she possibly could be. Then turn 2 will be here to accumulate as much Bloodtithe as we possibly can, and then on turn 3 we obliterate by using Nautika's ultimate in the correct way. Okay, so the best ways to accumulate Bloodtithe is of course to lose max HP, right? So Semmelweis' ultimate is the perfect way to accomplish exactly that. Now, what we can do first is, we always gonna use everything with Rhiannon first. Obviously, that is AP free, and we don't have to worry about a single thing. So then, Semmelweis' ultimate that deducts, remember, 20% of HP from all of our teammates. That is the best source. in this team to accumulate as much Bloodtithe as possible, and then we're gonna go ahead and use everything with Nautika. Preferably the best case would be if we would have our adaptive incantation to gain the buff adversity, but I will explain that next turn in a little bit more detail. So now we have used everything with Rhiannon, we have Semmelweis' ultimate ready, and we have everything used for Nautika that we possibly can. That will give us more than enough Bloodtithe that we need for next turn. We want to increase the Bloodtithe income though. So how we're gonna do this is, we either gonna use Rubuska or Semmelweis. We should put a little bit of emphasis onto Rubuska, because Rubuska is more in need, let me say it like that, of gaining a little bit of Moxie. It's not like truly a key point. That would only truly matter in long fights. So yeah, just put a little bit more emphasis on using Rubuska's incantations over the ones for Semmelweis, except of course Semmelweis' buff called Fresh Blood has to always at all times be active on Nautika. And yeah, now you will see that we will have accumulated enough Bloodtithe to use Nautika's ultimate on turn 3. And here we go, we have the 50 points of Bloodtithe accumulated. We have Nautika at the threshold of below 20% HP to gain the critical damage bonus from her Psycube. We have maxed out the damage bonus from Semmelweis' array here because we are below 20% HP, and we have at least 50 points of Bloodtithe accumulated. Now we can just freely play it out. We are buffed from Rhiannon's ultimate, the buff Flock Song. Here you can see the buff from Rhianna's ultimate. Here is Rhianna's buff incantation. Here is Fresh Blood that comes from Semmelweis' buff incantation that we casted on turn 1. All of the buffs are that we need are actually on Nautika. We have to make sure we have adversity. We will take care of this one this turn. Therefore we're going to use our unfinished tune. I will show you in just a second. And we want to be in Mother Spirit's guidance. This is our counter incantation that we also casted on turn 1. So those are all the things that you want to accomplish with Nautika on turn 3, aka turn 2, because of Rhiannon. Okay. Now, our last rotation will be played out, and then we have obliterated every single content in the entire game. Nothing stands against us here. This is why this is by far the best team in the entire game. The RNG here screws me over a little bit because I don't have the needed incantations with Nautika. Therefore, that's why we need to play the unfinished tune, so that we can get access to those incantations here. This adaptive incantation is what I'm talking about. We want to use the Martyr of the Abyss because it grants us a buff called Adversity. We need this Adversity buff in combination with our counter called Mother Spirit's Guidance active to gain the most amount of efficiency out of our ultimate. So let me go over all of this stuff again. You need the Adversity buff from this very incantation here. You have to have your counter active called Mother Spirit's Guidance. You want the Fresh Blood buff from Semmelweis. You want the buff incantation called Flock Song from Rhiannon. You want this Alda Elwich Win buff from Rhianna's ultimate. You want to use Rubuska's ultimate onto Nautika. You have to have Nautika below 20% of her max HP. And I think that is gonna be about it. And only if you have accomplished all of these different things. And you want to have at least 50 points of Bloodtithe. And only if you play the first turn correctly, the first 2 turns correctly, will you be able to accomplish that. And only if all of these things combined are accomplished, will Nautika deal the damage that Nautika is supposed to deal. Yeah, I gave you my wild claim earlier, and here you can see why. 100% guaranteed people play this ROM loot. 100%. And then they go out in public and say, oh, Bloodtithe is actually not that strong, it's not... It's crazy. But anyways, right, now you know how things work, now you know how to play this Bloodtithe lineup. So we have nothing else to accomplish here, so we will do whatever would deal the most amount of damage, and that would be another incantation with Nautika. Keep in mind that sometimes it can occur to you that at this very point here, you are at 47 or 49 points of Bloodtithe accumulated, and if that's the case, then you have to prioritize the incantations from Rubuska here, because if you use an incantation now with Nautika, that would not deduct more of her actual HP, and that would mean you will not accumulate more points of Bloodtithe. That is because Nautika, when she is at 16% max HP, will no longer deduct her HP with anything that she does. So you want to deduct more HP if you don't have accumulated the 50 points of Bloodtithe though. That means use Rubuska's incantation, this one right here, called Midnight Mischief. That will give you a few more points of Bloodtithe than anything else would. And there we go. Yeah, another thing, of course, you have to have the array with thingy active, right? Needless to explain, the array from Semmelweis. You can see here by the moon, it is active, it will always be active. I just wanted to mention it for completion's sake. And there we go. After all of these things, you're gonna bust out the ultimate with Nautika. And if you have done everything correctly, this is where you end every single battle in the entire game. Nothing stands against us. And nothing in the game is better than this. Nothing even comes close to how absurdly busted this shit is. And look, like after this turn, our entire team is at maximum HP again, right? Nautika heals herself to full HP after she blasted off her ultimate. That gives you another very, very good source of HP that you can deduct here. Another tip, you don't want to click on this ultimate, you want to use autoplay. And once you have almost deducted everything, you click on autoplay again. That will save you a little bit of your hand. Let me say it like that. And yeah, that is gonna be how to play Bloodtithe in the 3rd anniversary in our current version 3.7. I think earlier I called it 3.6, excuse me. It is of course 3.7. And then you're gonna go from here, right? You can see everything is active already. You now can bust out even a heal with Rubuska. After that, you're gonna use Semmelweis's array, you're gonna use the AP-free ultimate from Rhiannon one more time, more Rhiannon free stuff here, rebuff Nautika with Semmelweis, and accumulate as much Bloodtithe as you can with, for example, whatever you have available. I like to use a little bit of Rubuska, so that she also needs to gain a little bit of additional Moxie, so using an incantation with Rubuska from time to time is very, very beneficial. Just so that when we have accumulated another 50 points of Bloodtithe, we can immediately bust out the Nautika ult, and we don't have to wait or like worry about does Rubuska have her ultimate ready, because that's one of the things that you really want to have on Nautika before she busts out her ultimate, right? Yeah, and that's basically gonna be about it. So now we can move on and take a look at all of the Psy cubes in this team, the resonances, the portraits of Nautika, cause why not? You know, many people have questions about those Nautika portraits. But anyways, let's move on to the Psy cubes, resonances, and portraits. Let's go over all of the Psy cubes. First, I already showed you the signature Psy cube for Nautika. Her signature Psy cube is her best in slot. It is called Embrace the Past, and what it does is it gives you a little bit of HP, which is the perfect start for every single character in the Bloodtithe lineup. Here, if the carrier is a spirit character, max HP. When the carrier takes damage, critical hit rate +2. At the end of the round, we deal damage to ourselves, so we stack this critical hit rate here up like an absolute madman. When the carrier attacks, we already did go about this. This is the 80% threshold that you want to be below of, and then if at least at 50 points of Bloodtithe, you're gonna get an insane amount of critical damage. That's pretty much as simple as it gets. Then for Semmelweis, Semmelweis's job here is to establish her array with her ultimate. Therefore, the best and slot Psycube for Semmelweis is the third commitment. This is the signature Psycube for low para. What it does is if the carrier attacks and triggers a bullet effect, we don't give a crap about this. What we do care about is the flat HP that it gives us, first of all, that's very, very good. And the array deployed by the carrier grants an additional incantation and ultimate effect. Absolutely gorgeous. That is more than we could possibly ask for, honestly. This is a match made in heaven. For Rhiannon, we have her signature Psycube, of course, called the Soft Rain of Yesterday. It gives us damage taken reduction, which is synergizes perfectly with what the Bloodtithe lineup is all about. And you can see, like in the showcase, it is not actually too important to reach this 20% HP threshold with Rhiannon, right? We truly only care about Nautika, if we are being perfectly honest. Then, when entering battle, if the carrier is Rhiannon, then we gain attack and max HP here again. If or after the carrier actively casts an incantation, we grant damage net plus 1.2 to Nautika, and it can stack up. Perfect. Okay. Then we have Rubuska, just for completion's sake. Where are you, Bushki? Show yourself. She likes to play hide and seek. That is her favorite game, and she does it with me constantly, and I'm not the biggest fan of that. So her signature Psycube is her best in slot. That is called the Wandering Improviser. It gives us HP, and when entering battle, if the carrier is a mineral affiliate, this type of character, we gain healing down. Whenever an ally takes damage, they gain ultimate might. So ultimate might for Nautika. Yoo-hoo! Let's move on to the resonances, and first take a look at Nautika. As it is with every single Bloodtithe character, we're gonna focus on getting the maximum of possible HP out of our resonance. We can slide in some attack, slide in some critical hit rate, and that's gonna be about it. We use the special piece Stupefaction. Why? You guessed it, because it gives us more HP than any other piece in the game would here. You can see with Hyperphrenia, it would give us 3.2k, but Stupefaction gives us over 1k more than that, so that is going to be the best case here. You can see every other piece gives us way less HP, if the pieces even have HP. That's why Stupefaction, bros. If you want to use the same resonance pattern as I do, I will leave a link to that in the description down below. Keep in mind, this is maxed out to level 15. And now we can speed things up, because it's the same story for every single character here. With Semmelweis, we're gonna opt everything we can into getting the maximum of HP out there, and then we can go for some defensive crap here, because there is nothing else that would be beneficial. All we need is HP. That's why we use the special piece Equanimity, if that's how you pronounce it. Why? Again, because it gives us more HP than any other piece in the game would, and that's why it is by far the best. Okay, moving on to Rhiannon. You guessed it, right? With her resonance, yeah, I focused this particular resonance here onto attack, because I play this in Conduit for the time being. You want to gain as much HP out of it as possible, and you want to use the special piece called Overindulgence, because it gives you the maximum amount of HP. And that's gonna be about it. Same for Rubuska. Where is she? Here, resonance all into the maximum amount of possible HP, and then, yeah, try to get a little bit of attack and defensive, but it is about is HP. Here, Overindulgence, talked about that piece already. That's gonna be the best piece for the whole Bloodtithe lineup. Now we're gonna take a look into portraits here for Nautika. What you want to look out for, you are probably aware of this by now, is to look for damage increases when it comes to her ultimate. The portraits that accomplish that are P2 and P5. So those are gonna be the two portraits that you're gonna aim for. You either go for P2 or you're gonna go for P5. Now, I wouldn't necessarily recommend for you to get any portraits on Nautika. Let's say, hey, you have Nautika P2, you just pulled for her on her rerun, and yeah, your resources, you struggle a little bit with it, you had to pull for Rhiannon, you want to get Rhiannon to P2, that has much more value to you than you would be getting out of any Nautika portraits, because look, how this game's design works is that the true power creep does not lie in the characters themselves. Rarely is that the case. The true power, of course, there is a little bit of power creep going on with characters as well here and there, obviously, right? That's the design philosophy of a gacha game, but Reverse manages this part of the game masterfully. So the true power creep in this game lies in portraits, and that means that portraits, they do get outdated quite fast. The portraits, they do get power crept for the most part, as especially if we're gonna talk about damage output value. Yeah, so that's why I wouldn't recommend to gain Nautika portraits. Especially not if you have pulled for P2 Rhiannon, maybe you have just pulled for the twins, maybe you have just obtained some portraits for regulars, right? You need in the very next versions, if you want to play the conduit archetype, you need Ever Echo. In the very next version, then you need Hedone. We don't know about Narcissus yet. You want to pull maybe some more characters on the Euphoria banners, right? So you have already invested so much into the twins, into Rhiannon portraits, into regulars portraits, yada yada. Maybe you have P5, the twins, right? So that's why, that is the reason, or those are the reasons why I wouldn't recommend you to go for Nautika portraits. But if your budget allows it, I mean, of course, depends on how big your budget is. Go for P2. You are a millionaire, go for P5, bro. Of course, that is of course gonna see a whole bunch of value. Nautika is the best character in the entire game. It's the best main DPS for the best team. Like, obviously there's gonna be some value here, but I mean, resource management is also a thing in this game. Then, you know, I think you get my point. Then we have Semmelweis portraits, trash. They are truly outdated. 2 years old, bro. No, if you have 2-year-old portraits, where the fuck are they even? Wait a minute. Here, they are all complete trash. There is no value anywhere to be seen here at all. Forget about Semmelweis portraits. Don't invest any unilogs into them. And Rubuska, I actually forgot what her portraits even do. Let's read them together real quick. Here, Shadow Freeze duration increased to 2 rounds. That's actually not too bad. That's actually a pretty good portrait one already. But yeah, also like the value, let's be real, right? In most of the content, you will only need this 1 round. You don't need the 2 rounds. You obliterate everything with just 1 round. You can always accumulate the Moxie to have this ultimate all ready again whenever you would want to recast the Nautica ultimate. So yeah, it doesn't really make sense, but there is some quality of life going on here for sure. But it's not the biggest deal. Points, yeah, do you transfer more? Damage increases. But yeah, I mean, this is a pretty good portrait. Honestly. This is a pretty good portrait. If you can get it, I mean, sure. It has good value. It does actually have good value. Shadow Cloak. Capacity, no. Reality damage dealt, oh god, after an ally is attacked for Rubuska reason. No, that's not what we want. That is not what we want at all. Yeah, no, all the portraits are complete garbage, other than the P1. The P1 is actually respectable. So, you don't need it, but I mean, if you want to get it, sure. That's a pretty good portrait. So there we go, stop at P1 though. And there we have it, guys. That was how to play Bloodtithe in the 3rd anniversary. Okay, I hope that video was fun and informative. If you like Reverse1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate it. But until next time, remember how cracked Bloodtithe is, bro.
Keep this heart safe from me.
We love this game.